The chaos that was the expansion draft and the NHL entry draft is over. I had a lot of fun covering both of those drafts over the past week. Before we go any further, I do want to say a huge thank you to all of you guys for the amount of support you've shown on the channel. Really, for the past month, I would say right now is definitely the most fun I've ever had making content here on YouTube, so hopefully that's making for better videos. So with that all being said, now it is time to shift our focus to the next big off-season NHL event, and that is unrestricted free agency, which opens on July 28th. And in this video, I'm going to be giving you guys 6 predictions that I have for free agency when it opens. I won't call these bold predictions because I don't really think that they all are, but there's definitely at least a couple in this video we're going to talk about that might be a little bit out there. I'll start off the video with the one that I think is the most obvious, and that is defenseman David Savard signing with the Montreal Canadiens. With the news that Shea Weber is going to be out for the entirety of this upcoming season, and he may actually never play another game in his career, that leaves a pretty big hole on Montreal's right side. And also with Shea Weber going on LTIR, that clears up close to $8 million in cap space, so Montreal's definitely going to have the money to go out there and make a run at one of the bigger name UFA defensemen. And to me, and to a lot of other people, David Savard seems like a very logical option. For one, he's from Quebec, and I know that shouldn't matter a ton, but we know the Montreal Canadiens like their francophone players. For two, he shoots right, and I think he would fill in nicely on the Montreal Canadiens' second pairing behind Jeff Petrie, or maybe even on their third pairing, because they still have Alexander Romanov, of course, who I'm sure is likely to take on a much bigger role this upcoming season. And for three, he's not going to cost the Montreal Canadiens a whole lot. His previous cap hit was $4.25 million. I can't see him getting any more than that. I think it'll probably be in like the $3.5 to $4 million range, and that would definitely leave Montreal in a position as to where they can go out and pursue some other UFAs, maybe another defenseman, maybe a center to replace Philip Deneau if he doesn't return. My second prediction, I feel like this one is a little bit far-fetched. Blake Coleman signs with the Seattle Kraken, reuniting him and Yanni Gourde. Seattle drafted a ton of defensemen. That left them with a lot of holes up front. I would say they have, like 10 NHL caliber forwards, and 4 lines are made up of 12 players. Considering they have over $30 million in cap space, I think it's safe to say they are going to be very, very active and aggressive in free agency, and I think especially when it comes to going after some forwards. I think Blake Coleman would be a very good option. He's probably going to get overpaid when you consider what the Rangers gave to Barclay Goodrow, but again, Seattle has $30 million cap space. I think they can afford to overpay a couple of guys, and they wouldn't be paying him to be a bottom 6 forward, and I feel like a lot of people view Blake Coleman as a role player, but he's really a fantastic two-way forward who I think would be more than capable of playing in a team's top 6. He's had multiple 20-goal seasons before. This past season, he scored close to a 20-goal pace with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think it would be really fun to reunite him and Yanni Gourde. I think that's something that you would easily be able to sell to the fans. And for the people that would say, well, it's going to be really hard for Blake Coleman and Yanni Gourde to go from a third-line role in Tampa Bay to a first-line role in Seattle, that's really not true. When you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning forwards' ice time in the postseason, you would know that Yanni Gourde and Blake Coleman, they certainly did not play third-line minutes. They were both heavily utilized by the Tampa Bay Lightning. They played some extremely difficult matchups as well. I think both of these guys would be more than capable of playing on a first line, especially on an expansion team. Prediction number 3. This one is probably the boldest of the entire video, but I honestly think it makes sense, and that is goaltender James Reimer signing with the Toronto Maple Leafs, going back to where he started his career. The Maple Leafs need a goalie. They have Jack Campbell, and that's it, unless they go the route of re-signing Freddie Anderson, but I don't think that's going to happen. And the Maple Leafs aren't really in the position to go and throw a ton of money at one of the top UFA goaltenders like a Tuukka Rask, a Philip Grubauer, or even a guy like Linus Ullmark for that matter. They need to find value. They need to find a goaltender who's going to be relatively cheap and that can come in and be like a 1B option for Jack Campbell. And call me crazy, but I think James Reimer could be that guy.
Not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
He's definitely not going to cost a lot. This is a guy who became Carolina's third-string goaltender down the stretch and into the postseason, but it wasn't really because he did anything wrong. It was more so just because of the emergence of Alex Nedeljkovic and then Peter Mrazek coming back from injury. I think wherever Reimer goes, whatever type of contract he signs, the cap hit is likely going to be close to or under $2 million, and the Maple Leafs can definitely make that work. So that's reason number 1 as to why I think this makes a lot of sense. Reason number 2, James Reimer has shown in the past that he can succeed in a tandem type of of situation. His stats in Florida from 2016 up until 2019 are pretty good, all things considered. Florida was not a good team during that period. And going back to the 2019-20 season with Carolina, he put up really solid results, playing 25 games behind Peter Mrazek. And also, this is something that I think the Leafs could easily sell to their fans, be something that can actually get Leafs fans excited for next season. James Reimer is still a fan favorite in Toronto. He played in Toronto during some dark times, but more often than not, he put up fantastic results on a god-awful team. Am I galaxy braining this? Yeah, probably a little bit, but I genuinely believe it could work, especially if Jack Campbell can even come close to playing at the level he played at this past regular season. This one I feel like is a pretty obvious one, similar to David Savard signing in Montreal, and that is Keith Yandle, defenseman, signing with the Boston Bruins. It was reported on earlier today that the Boston Bruins are in fact one of the many teams that Keith Yandle decided to meet with. He's from Boston, and even though he was bought out by the Panthers earlier in the offseason and they didn't view him as somebody that could help them moving forward, he is still a very useful player. Is Keith Yandle somebody who's going to have to play sheltered minutes at 5-on-5? Definitely. At this point in his career, he's kind of a train wreck defensively. Realistically, should only be playing close to 17 minutes a night on a regular basis. That all being said, Keith Yandle is still very effective offensively. He's more than capable of running a top power play unit and doing it well. 18 of his 27 points this past season came on the power play, and that's kind of one of Boston's weaknesses. They don't really have a true power play one quarterback. I love Charlie McAvoy. He's easily a top 20 defenseman in the league, but that's not a role he thrives in. I know Matt Grzelcyk got some opportunity on the Bruins top power play unit as well, but neither of those guys are meant for that role. Keith Yandle is. And playing behind guys at 5-on-5 like Charlie McAvoy, like Matt Grzelcyk, and like Brandon Carlo, just to name a few, I think it would be pretty easy for Boston to shelter Keith Yandle's minutes at 5-on-5. Prediction number 5. This is actually the only one of the video where I'm predicting a player to stay with their current team, and that player is Dougie Hamilton re-signing with the Carolina Hurricanes. The Carolina Hurricanes have to re-sign Dougie Hamilton. The fans of the Hurricanes are already upset with upper management because of the Nedeljkovic trade. The team just has to stop being cheap. Now, I know a lot of that lies on ownership and not necessarily the general manager. I think we saw that was evident when Rod Brind'Amour said he wasn't going to re-sign unless the rest of his staff was re-signed as well, and that actually worked in his favor. This is a team with close to $29.5 million in cap space right now, and I know they need a goaltender. They actually need 2 goaltenders. They don't even have one signed, and they have to re-sign RFA Andrei Svechnikov, who's definitely not going to come cheap, but $29.5 million should be more than enough to get all of that done and still be able to keep Dougie Hamilton. It would not be a good look on the organization to lose your Calder Trophy finalist goaltender and a Norris caliber defenseman in the same offseason for virtually nothing. I know they got a 3rd round pick for Nedeljkovic, but that's not all that valuable at all. The chances of a 3rd round pick becoming a full-time NHLer are not that high. Pay Dougie Hamilton. This is a team that's trying to get over the hump that is the 2nd round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. If they lose him for nothing, it's going to be a major setback. The 6th and final prediction of this video, Thomas Tatar signs with the Winnipeg Jets. Right now, Thomas Tatar's value is probably at or close to an all-time low. This is a guy who was healthy scratched basically throughout Montreal's entire playoff run. His previous cap hit was $5.3 million. There's no way he gets anything close to that. For that reason, I feel like whatever team ends up signing Tatar this offseason is going to wind up getting a steal. Tatar is a very good top 6 winger. He's had 5 seasons in his career of scoring 20 or more goals. He's only 1 season removed from putting up 61 points in 68 games for the Canadiens. And even this season, which was viewed as a bad year for Thomas Tatar, he still had 30 points in 50 games and finished 4th on the Montreal Canadiens in scoring. And I feel like a lot of people view Thomas Tatar as a one-dimensional player. He's an offensive threat and nothing else. If you look at his analytics, that's not true at all. Thomas Tatar is a very competent defensive forward as well. Considering the Winnipeg Jets kind of have a hole on the wing in the top 6, I think this is a guy they should really be pushing for. They have the money to do it. Not that Thomas Tatar would cost a lot. I think his cap it's probably going to come in around $3 million, and I think that could wind up being amazing value. So that is going to do it for this video. Those were 6 predictions that I have for unrestricted free agency when it opens. I know these really weren't the most fun predictions, like Gabe Landeskog signing in Tampa Bay or something crazy like that, but remember, these weren't supposed to be bold. I wanted the majority of them to actually have a chance of happening. If you guys enjoyed this video and you're just as pumped as I am for free agency, then be sure to leave this video a like, and lastly, be sure to get down there in the comment section down below and let me know any predictions that you personally have for free agency, or maybe even some players that you want your favorite team to sign.